Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between. Welcome to the Method Dungeon Awards. My name is Kexman, and I'm going to be your host and your judge for today's awards. However, I want to know exactly what you think should have won each one of these individual categories. Let us know in the comment section down below. But without any further time wasting, let's find out exactly who has won a Method Dungeon Award. And the first award is Best Overall Theme. This is taking into account the aesthetics, the sound design, the voice acting, everything about the dungeon except for the encounters themselves. And for my money, the winner is The Other Side, a beautiful dungeon with separate aesthetics in the three various different areas you go into, fantastic voice acting from fan favourite Buon Samdi, and some brilliant music that just captures the essence of the area as a whole. So, Best Overall Theme goes to The Other Side. Our next award is the Best Dungeon Boss, and in what some may consider to be a controversial pick, I have decided to go for Blightbone, the first boss in Necrotic Wake. A deceptively simple boss that obviously can challenge you if you are not fully prepared for it, specifically if you're facing off against the boss on Tyrannical. But the ability, if it was a Shrouded Affix or even the Encrypted Affix, to buff your party alongside the Goliath that is available to activate for Kyrian people, does mean that the boss can change depending on your group composition and the Affix week. Might sound relatively simple, but Blightbone gets my vote. And from Best Dungeon Boss, we now go to Worst Tyrannical Boss. This is any boss on the Tyrannical Affix that has been especially problematic, and whilst there are a couple of contenders, I think it's safe to say none of us can disagree with Executor Tarvold in Sanguine Depths. An absolute nightmare, specifically at the start of Shadowlands on a Tyrannical week. A boss that many people wanted to avoid, and possibly one of the most nerfed dungeon bosses of all times. So for my money, Worst Tyrannical Boss absolutely has to go to Executor Tarvold. The next award is Best Seasonal Affix, so whichever of the 4 affixes that occurred when you were a key 10 or higher, which of those were the best? And we have Prideful, Tormented, Encrypted, and Shrouded to consider. Now, for my money, it's not going to be Tormented or Encrypted, it's between Prideful and Shrouded, and personally, I believe that Shrouded just about edges it as the best seasonal affix, and I will tell you for why. The Prideful had a really nice kiss and curse aspect to it, but because of the way it was designed and the amount of mobs that you had to kill, it meant that your routes through dungeons were very, very rigid, and any accidental pull would completely mess up the route, whereas Shrouded doesn't necessarily do that. If you want to, you can pull extra, you can get a little bit more reward, or you can obviously avoid those. You're not quite as powerful, but you're going to be doing the dungeon slightly quicker. So, once again, for my money, winner for Best Seasonal Affix is Shrouded. The Most Annoying Trash Mob is our next award, and honestly, I personally think this should be renamed to Most Annoying Trash Mobs, plural, because I'm giving this to the Gauntlet before the final boss of Sanguine Depths. Anytime you have a gauntlet that is set up where you don't really have a chance to stop and breathe as you are also fighting the boss is a pain in the backside. And let me tell you, some of these mobs on some certain Affix weeks are an absolute nightmare. I'm looking at you, Sanguine. This area on Sanguine can be an absolute nightmare. I despise this whole trash. So for me, the most annoying trash mobs to deal with, it's the Gauntlet before the final boss of Sanguine Depths. Our next award is for the most annoying affix, and whilst there have been some pretty annoying affixes, Grievous, Sanguine, Necrotic, I, however, am opting for something that is slightly different. For my money, it's actually a tie between Tyrannical and Fortified. Two affixes that realistically don't add anything to the Mythic Plus rotation. They actively harm the Mythic Plus rotation. Now, with every single one of the affixes, you can kind of outplay them in some regard. Sanguine, you can move out of the pools. Necrotic, you can kite as a tank. Tyrannical and Fortified are just flat out modifiers. They're boring. They don't really add anything to the game. If you removed them and gave us the option potentially to have another affix, or instead of having it on a standard Fortified Tyrannical, we changed it up so that Fortified and Tyrannical became part of the rotation in a meaningful way. Some weeks you may have Grievous and Sanguine, and then all of a sudden the week after you have Tyrannical added into Storming, for example. Change the way that those affixes are presented and they become much more palatable. So once again, the most annoying affix is actually a tie between Fortified and Tyrannical. The next award is for Best Dungeon, and whilst we spoke about Best Overall Theme and we gave that to The Other Side, for my money, the Best Overall Dungeon is actually Theatre of Pain. Whilst The Other Side might be more aesthetically pleasing and might have some better voice lines in there, when you actually look at the boss fights, the tuning, the design of the fights themselves, as well as the story that is told throughout an entire dungeon, for my money, you don't get much better than Theatre of Pain. A beautiful dungeon, one I hope Blizzard kind of remember when they're designing dungeons in the future, and whilst this may be controversial, it's definitely my winner. And now we come to the final award, and that is Worst Dungeon Overall. There are a couple of contenders in my mind for this, however, the winner in what again could be a slightly controversial pick is Plaguefall, a dungeon that aesthetically bores me to death with just its constant green color scheme, boss fights that realistically just annoy me to no end, some pretty horrific trash, as well as the fact I never managed to get the drops that I wanted in that dungeon, which meant I had to run it over and over and over and over again, means that for my money, Plaguefall is the worst dungeon in all of Shadowlands. And there you have it, folks. Those are my picks for the Method Dungeon Awards for Shadowlands. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscription button and click the bell icon as well so you are notified when new videos are live. If you want to tell me how wrong I am or how right I am, be sure to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Kexman, or you can also catch me streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheKexman. But from myself, that's the award ceremony over. We'll see you folks in Dragonflight.